Okay. Okay, hold on, hold on. Let me compose myself. Okay. Hi everyone. Normally we do an introduction, okay? And I said, we ain't wasting one single morsel of a mini second to not have the conversation that we need to have because we will probably go over the 30 minutes today. So just FYI, buckle your seatbelts, okay? The other thing I want to say to people before we begin, in all seriousness, I and Dan ask, how's your heart and how are you today, really? And I think it's important for humanity to check in with humanity of how are you? And where is your mental, physical, spiritual bandwidth? And I'm being very honest. Don't say we didn't warn you. So if today you're like, I can't take anymore, or something just happened with my family, or work isn't so great, or I'm just not great, I am warning you in advance. I don't know if this is the conversation that you want to continue watching. You might have to say, okay, I'm going to tap out and I will be back and watch the replay because I am well aware this conversation Aisha and I are going to have will probably bring some people heightened emotions. So if you choose to, I say thank you so much. You are all welcome anytime, but I need everybody to be mindful. So before we even begin today, I, just being in the social, emotional, and wellness space, will be saying to you, what are you going to do to sit with yourself? And I am being very serious on that because if your heightened emotion comes with things that maybe you've never thought of before, you don't necessarily agree with, it maybe you find triggering, then how are you bringing yourself back to a place of calm and peace and ease and more comfort? A couple suggestions for you. Put the screen on pause. Get up and move and walk away. Go get fresh air. Look at a picture that brings you joy and happiness. Put some music on that centers your own peace. Drink some water. Consciously breathing in 5 times in and out will rewire your brain to a place that was more peaceful and calm than 5 breaths in and out before. So we are being very peace aware. Drink some water. Oh, I don't know what happened. Of letting you all know these are the things we're suggesting that you do, but you and you know your wellness best. So what other things can you do before we get into this very candid conversation that Aisha and I have had for years behind the scenes? And we said, you know what, we're going to uncloak it. We're going to uncloak it and just go public with the conversations that we have all the time, but we just don't publicly put as posts or as videos or having conversations where everybody could see. Okay, so before I say that, Aisha, how are you today?
I am well. I am well. I am just so honored to be a guest with you here today on your special, special day. It's Future's birthday, everyone. Shout her out. Happy birthday in the comments.
Okay. And I know some people are going to come after me. Why you didn't tell me it's your birthday? You're right. Okay. LinkedIn has notification settings. For the 3 years I've been on this platform, they're shut off. You will not get a notification that it's my birthday. Why? Because I am super personable, but I am also private. Not everybody knows it's my birthday, and nor do I want everybody to know it's my birthday. However, I was saying and dropping little hints in my post, this is a very special day. And it is a very special day for me because it's my birthday. And I couldn't think of any other person to share it with besides you. So
Oh
I
my
am
gosh,
happy.
that made me cry.
I'm happy you came out of hibernation for this
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Oh yeah, you're hysterical. All right. Look at everybody's like, happy birthday. Thank you, everyone.
I love it.
I'm owning it and we're good to go. So thank you. But this isn't about my birthday, okay? This is about community and building bridges and expanding minds and having conversations that maybe will make you say, okay.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay. So how have you been?
I mean, I've life is up and down. Like I was in my inbox the other day and someone I forgot to get back to them. So if you're watching, I'm so sorry, I will hit you back. But they were like, you've been quiet a bit. Like I haven't heard from you. And I didn't really get to like finish the whole message. But I think, I mean, and to your terms about wellness, it takes so much from us sometimes to continuously go against the grain, continuously talk about things that other people are afraid to say. They sugarcoat, they just dance around, they don't want to really just put out there. And being, I feel like one of the few people that, not to toot my own horn or anything, that authentically does that because I'm just rooted in my values and purpose. Sometimes I just need a break. Sometimes I just need to say, okay, like I need to focus on work, or I need to focus on home life, or I need to focus on, because like I know once I put this out there in the ether or whatever, like there's gonna be 10, 20 million people trying to come at my neck, and like it's emotionally draining. So I'm doing well, but it's because I do get to have those times where I rest and kind of just am not on 24/7.
Yeah. Okay. So we were talking backstage. Whew, we've
Yeah.
been connected for really, a long time in regards to social
Yeah.
media, right? You
Yeah.
were one of my first connections just coming on social media, period. And I don't know if people know who we are. Okay. Hello. I'm going to say it.
Hello.
I don't think people understand who we are and what we did on this platform, because the reality is and I'm pretty adamant about this, and I will say it, and you could come in my DMs, okay? Because I'm still going to center my own piece, and we will
Yeah.
have a candid talk. Years ago in 2020, I call it FAM. This is what I'm naming it: Future Aisha Mervin.
Oh my
Future
gosh,
Aisha.
Marvin. Oh my gosh. Hey, Marvin, if you're watching.
We have to
Yeah.
tag him. And if you don't know Mervin, you should go follow him, because he's a truth teller too. Okay. And we were on here talking about things that people weren't necessarily talking about. And we were getting told a lot of stuff and getting hate messages, and people trying to drag us, right? Drag us literally, to the point where I was telling people, and they're like, what? Do you know? I had one of my jobs that I worked at, my last job that I worked at, isn't listed on my profile. Let me repeat this
Oh, my
again.
current job is not listed on my profile.
Okay.
And it won't be.
So my job literally wasn't even listed. And during that time, because people didn't like what I was saying, I had people finding where I worked at the state level and emailing me at my job that wasn't even listed
Oh my
on this.
God.
Okay. That's the depths to which we were getting people
Yeah, it was
angry,
crazy.
enraged. Okay. But when we first came on, what people don't understand is we were the first of the few who were on here saying to LinkedIn, y'all need to sit with yourself, because let's have a candid conversation about the inequities in which you two are upholding. And we would like to have a candid conversation. Please come and share space with us to hear from the people that are being oppressed in the system, and how can we build bridges to be better. That's all the conversation that we wanted to have. So we were one of the first, and I think we're very rooted in,
Yeah.
and I tell people, I love you. At the same time, I don't care who you are. You have 500,000 followers. You're the president of the United States. You're the president of a very wealthy company and organization that has a lot of funders behind it. If you two aren't standing in humanity, then we will have a conversation. And
Yeah.
if I have to lose people, if I lose contracts, then okay.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
know that I could sleep at night well,
Yeah. Oh, you know my unemployment phase. It was crazy.
right?
It was a hot mess. So yeah, like totally, totally backing everything you're saying.
Right? You have
Yeah.
to. And some people, and that's why we said, we're going to come on here and have this conversation. And are we going to ruffle feathers, whatever you want to call it? We're going to make some people sit with themselves, and you are going to have to sit through a gamut of emotions for some people. And at the same time, let's get to the root to bear the fruit. We too have things that we're not talking about,
Yeah.
that we need to talk about them, because why are we not discussing it and all the ways that it is harming our own wellness and ways in which we too in the community could heal.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so first I want to talk because we talk about healing our future. So we'll get into the depths of the things that I know we want to talk about. And I think it's important for you to say what I love that you were honest and candid about is that you said, "You know what, future? I just needed me time." I I was self-aware enough to know I needed to link out to link
Yeah.
into my okay?
Yeah.
So knowing that is a beautiful gift that I think some people get on the wheel of that they don't even know. And then they're to a place where in
Mhm.
panic mode of now I don't even know how to build myself back up. So that
Right.
is a blessing that you knew, okay, it's time for me to exit that.
Yep.
During the time of your exiting off social media, because it hasn't just been on LinkedIn, it's been all social media for the most part. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you been doing to fill yourself
Oh gosh,
up?
don't ask that question. Oh my gosh, I should have like some kind of perfect answer for that. First, let me just shout out the people in the chat that said hi. Hi, Alicia, and the other Alicia, and someone else said hi. Like I can't like multitask right now and like see on my phone, but I can see some of your comments. I just want to say hi. Um, oh my goodness. You know what? I think there wasn't anything that I was doing in particular to kind of just reset. It was just knowing that I didn't have to say anything if I didn't want to, right? It was just like that mental piece of knowing um it's okay like to be quiet or to be silent. Because people know that when I do eventually speak out, I come heavy hidden. Like it's what I do. Can't do anything else. So I think I just gave myself permission to like rest and not be worried about like, oh my gosh, like people haven't heard from me in a while or like, you know, follower count or anything of that sort. It's just like, I speak when I feel like something in my soul just needs to kind of like come out. So that was important for me. Like even when we when we talked yesterday and I was like, you know what, I didn't even post anything for AAPI month. And
Mhm.
you're like, did you need to? And I'm like, no, I actually didn't need to, right? Like I choose what I want to say when I want to say it. Um, and like it's a beautiful time of celebration, but that doesn't mean that in this course of mostly what's for me Black liberation, because like DEI can encompass so many things, but my focus is on the latter part. And so like I don't need to circle the wagon and make sure like that I'm touching base on every single history month, every single heritage month, every single like everything that's happening. Yes, I stand in solidarities with communities, very much so, and I'm allies for them. But at the same time, it's like, no, I don't have anything to say this month. Y'all do your thing. Be, merry and bright and
Yeah.
so that for me, I love that question that you posed to me yesterday when we were on the phone. And I mean, I hope nobody takes offense to that, but like seriously, we can't tackle everything all the time. Like that's not our purpose, that's not our place. We need to find what we want to do best and or just feel more called to, and I feel like kind of like dig in on that, and anything else extra is beautiful. Anything less than that is perfectly okay. So
Mhm, mhm. We can't do it all. I mean, I think it's a both and. We can do it all, okay? If we
right.
wanted to,
If
we
we
are
wanted,
okay? We are
but
very aware to do it if we want, and at the same time, we have to protect our peace and our wellness and our
yeah,
rest and our boundaries,
yeah,
and to do it all, then we will literally be exhausted.
yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, and I feel like now so many. This is just it's another topic, but I feel like kind of it's just a lot of it's like pandering. Like, oh, like if you don't say something, then you're not an ally. Or if you don't say like you have to because it's the thing to do. And it's just like, no, I don't have to do what people think I need to do to be considered an ally or whatever it is. Like, so it's also that like not conforming to people expectations of what you should or should not be saying as somebody who's like in the equity space or just like promoting liberation and like equity.
Well, here's the other thing I think too. Do we listen to the definitions and the labels that other people want to give, or do we stand true in who we know we are? Because here's what I can come. If anybody is going to question my allegiance to equity or to
Mm-hmm.
liberation or to freedom, I would then say, please go back and check what we did 3 years ago. And if anybody put themselves out there to hang on a cross by calling a pretty big organization out, that's something that few were doing. So
Yeah.
nobody, you can, and I will never believe it until I take my last breath on this earth. It wouldn't even be a thought in my mind of, I don't care. No, we actually cared so much that we went real hard to do something that you were doing. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, even if you look at it today, I feel like there's, I mean, back when we were, and I remember when the New York Times article came out, and I know we're gonna like jump into the media stuff in a bit, but like just hashing on this conversation, I love this so much. Like when the New York Times article came out about like the stars of Black LinkedIn or whatever, and I know there's some people complaining like, oh, we were talking about like Black issues before that, but it was you were talking about Black issues in a way that were palatable to the masses, right? You were talking about it in a way that like didn't really make anybody sit with themselves or consider things that we should be thinking about and considering. And I see that also a lot today on this platform. And I mean, it's just so funny because you can literally like divide up kind of ideologically where certain people stand or where certain stances that people choose to take. So it's like, okay, this person, may have, I don't know, 500,000 followers and they're always talking about Black issues, but they're never talking about what's actually going to move the needle, right?
mhm,
It's like, it's a bunch of cute stuff like
yep,
Juneteenth when we didn't ask for Juneteenth. Like,
yep,
I mean, and I'm not saying that to like make anyone feel like their work is invalid, but to your point, Future, there are very few of us who actually call things out in a way that we do it unapologetically, not afraid of what people are going to say. Like, we're not trying to sugarcoat, we're not trying to feed your egos, like we're not trying to like say it in a nice way so we can still get the brand deal, like, or not get kicked off LinkedIn, right? It's like these are literal people's lives at stake, and that's what we're fighting for. Like, we're not fighting for money in our pockets, we're not fighting for someone to come and endorse us, right? Like, that's not what we do. There's tons of other people that do that, and LinkedIn will push their algorithms forward and have them as like the stars of link or whatever, and like and elevate them certain ways, and so will other people, and there's a reward for that. But again, we've had to go through, especially I've went through, when I started talking about the things I was talking about, months of unemployment. I mean, like on food stamps, just like before I have receipts for days, I had no problem finding a job. Like, you could not, I kept a job.
mhm,
Um, I would like no one would respond to me. Like after I started posting on LinkedIn, like I would not hear back from like one person, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is life right now? And at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to change what I'm doing because this is important,
yep.
right? And like, so I don't know, I just went off the rails a little bit there, but I had to say that there's a very stark difference in the content that some of us puts out that's a little bit more um I don't know what the word for it is, but I don't know. Drop some comments in the chat.
You
Because
know,
I can't think of the word right now.
here's what I think it is. I think it's I function in and we function in. It's not either or. Often there's so many
Oh my
things that
gosh. There you go. We see nuance. We see multidimensional aspects of people. We see things. It's not black and white. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's not like, it's either this or that. To your point, we actually are able to like sit and kind of view like the whole spectrum of things. Oh my gosh, that was such a good point. I love that.
it's not either or. I keep telling people, even when I'm working with leadership, going into organizations now, people are like, well, we need a balcony view. I'm like, no, you actually need a drone view. You don't need get out of your balcony view, okay? We need to get up higher on some of our views because
Yes.
there's so much that you're missing, and then you'll stay rooted in this is what it is. And I'm like,
Mhm.
but it's not because you missed this whole segment of what this was, and this too counts and should be included.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I so
Oh,
love that.
gonna
Yeah.
get
The lack of just like nuance and discussions and really just taking account. There's so many different aspects of a person, of a thing, and
yeah,
not to kind of keep constricting people to like this one, caricature or something. Like it's so missing in our dialogue today, and especially in the DEI industry, which is, I mean, shouldn't be in the work that and the work that folks are doing. Like it's absolutely mind blowing, and that's kind of what I wanted to like talk about today. Also, too, is just like some of the hypocrisy that sits within our community, right, and just like healing from these thoughts and beliefs that we have that cause us to continue behaviors and kind of just like patterns of thought that are detrimental. And
mhm.
then we cover it up with the guise of, oh, so many different guises. Like I can't even just begin to imagine. But like, um, yeah, that's kind of like one of the crux of the conversation. Like how do we heal from that? Like how do we think differently? How do we begin to understand that there's so much more to people than what we think or can just,
See,
what the eye can see, right? Like I remember writing this post about, um, this is going to be the first time I say this live too. I remember writing this post about, oh my gosh, there was this picture that was circulating and it was with, what's his face? The Michael B. Jordan and some other guy. I don't know because I'm not really into whatever. Right. And so, Linda. And so I pretty much said, like, because some people thought that, the picture just was like, okay, that's too close for comfort. It's two guys. I'm not really feeling it. Other people were like, oh, you guys are like homophobic. Like, there's nothing wrong with the picture. And I'm just like, listen, if some people think that is too close for comfort for them, let it be too close for comfort for them. Why don't you mind your business and stop trying to call everything homophobic, transphobic, because you believe that people need to agree with your line of thinking. Just because you think that there's nothing wrong with it doesn't mean that somebody else from their lens finds it uncomfortable. And so I had this one woman, to the point of not understanding that people are more than what you can see. She said, oh my gosh, like, you're so homophobic. You know nothing about the LGBT community. I was a lesbian for
mhm.
years. For years. Years. Nobody knows that till today. Surprise! You got a surprise today.
Surprise! Happy
You
birthday!
learned something new about me today. For years, right? Like that, like my whole younger 20s, kind of just like, and that's another story. I had this is my personal story, my personal testimony. Get offended or not, I don't care. But like, I had a whole come to Jesus moment. I'm a Christian now, and that's not my life anymore. But it was my life, and so for her to come in the comments and say, you know absolutely nothing about the LGBTQ lifestyle,
Hmm.
it's just it's so interesting how we think that people have no, unless it's stated, that people have no authority to speak on fact, literal fact, right, unless they have that lived experience. It's just really weird. But anyway.
Well, and to your point, here's what I think. I think my mind goes to several places when you talk about this story. When they were saying, because I remember this, picture, okay, and I also know that I have to hold space for. There might be some people who were abused sexually,
Mm-hmm.
mentally, physically by another man. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that picture could have been very triggering to them, and a
Right.
male coming close to them could be right. Like that's too close to me because of my previous lived experiences. So,
Mm-hmm.
in order for us to make all of these assumptions or throw out all
Yeah.
of the, well, you're this label, because that's what we like to do as human beings. We like to
Oh yeah.
label people, okay? And let's put you in your box. So,
Yeah.
to label the person, is it truly fair to do unless you know who the person is, unless
Yeah.
you can understand what that person has experienced and lived through and who they've evolved to be. But people don't want to take the time to
Yeah.
have
No.
the
No.
dialogue to get to
Not at
know
all.
the being. That's the
Right.
problem.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so let's where do you want to go? Like, obviously, we had talked about so
Where do
many
you
different
want to
so
go?
many different things. And I know, we were going back and forth when you started posting yesterday in regards to
Oh, yeah.
the
Oh,
okay,
yeah. Okay.
the we're evolving. We're evolving. Okay, everybody's getting involved. You're getting involved. Okay, here we
Oh my
come. Brace
gosh.
yourself
Such
for
great production. I love it.
right sitting in your own self awareness, and what are you doing to protect yourself? If you're not
Right.
in the space, we ask you to check out now. Okay, so I know I shouldn't say we were going back and forth in chat, but you posted about sororities and fraternities
I
yesterday.
did. Oh my gosh. I did. I did.
Okay,
I did. I did. Okay.
so
Where do we
let's go
start?
down let's go down that path. Okay.
Let's go down that path. Okay. So I don't even know where to start. Okay. I'll start with this. You said something so poignant, like when we were on the phone yesterday, and it was, how are you fighting for, because remember that whole chief debacle,
Yeah.
right? And Black women were crying about like not being let into their spaces. And I'm like, how are you crying? Like, to be like, how are you so upset that these white women are being like exclusive and kind of just like exclusionary and like not inclusive, but yet your whole organization is based on the notion of exclusion and elitism and hierarchies and people who can and cannot be a part of the in group. And so I'm just like, I need y'all to make it make sense for me. Like, the hypocrisy is so crazy and so real. And I say this, and I'm sure like everybody on this call, for the most part, like 95, 90%, whatever, like know what Black Greek letter organizations are, right? And so there's so many things that people can say, that things that they do good or do well, okay, right? Like
We're not
community,
discrediting that.
we're
We're not
not
just
we're not discrediting that, but to me, the how you get there is just important as getting there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't take away from the vehicles and the mechanism that drive you to be able to do those quote unquote good things that you say that you do as an organization, right? And so one of the biggest problems that I have is the elitism mindset that runs amok these a lot of the members, and it's, to me, it's like baked into the institutions, right? Because first of all, if you don't have enough money to pay your dues, like as a Greek, right? Like that's one barrier of exclusion. That's one back barrier to entry that you can't kind of escape, right? And so there's also, I mean, there's a whole membership, like, I mean, there's just different aspects of how you're able to get accepted into the organization. And one of the most disturbing aspects, which I don't know if it still goes on today, but I know way back when it first started,
when we were in
was it
college.
was, huh?
When we were in college, like back in the day when we were in college,
Or
I know
even
it.
before that, it was, there was a lot of colorism, right? So like, if you know anything about BGLOs, you'll know that, oh, you may have heard somebody say like, oh, if you're like um a AKA and you're dark skinned, oh, you're too dark to be an AKA. I didn't think you're an AKA. Or right, like there was a lot of colorism and a lot of like putting people in boxes based on certain things, and it was just like, I don't understand this mindset
Mhm.
of thinking that you or anybody else is better than another subset of Black people. At the end of the day, you're still Black. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't understand the mindset of you thinking that because you let people, most of y'all, not all of y'all, whatever, let people beat, slap, kick, punch you into submission, right? Learned a few quote unquote secrets of the organization, all this other crap. Now you're part of the in crowd. Now that makes you better because you can recite some, Invictus like off the back of your hand and all these other things. Like, oh, so now you're the part of the talented 10th, right? Now you're like the percentage of the Black people that are better than the rest, and you're supposed to lift as you climb. And like, to me, it's such a disgusting idea that's rooted in white supremacy. It's so like, I hate it. I hate it. And I feel like you cannot be in DEI and you cannot advocate for Black liberation if you are a part of an organization that at its premise, there is this hierarchy of who is better in the community. right? So if I'm better and I'm looking down on you, then white people should be looking down on you. And you shouldn't try to be fight for them to view you as equal. It don't make any sense. Like, make it make sense. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand it. So, like, that is my huge like one of my huge problems with the culture, because I feel like it advances a lot of, it upholds a lot of white supremacist cultures and how we view ourselves, because there's this thing of self-hate baked in there, right? Like, you
Mhm.
have to get to a certain level to be a good enough black, otherwise you're not. That's self-hate. Like, and then, I mean, oh my gosh, there was something else I wanted to mention that I can't think comes to mind right now. I mean, it also makes me think back to like slaveries, how some of the people, some of the, or I mean, some organizations are worse than others. And I know people say white fraternities do it too. I'm not talking about that. Like, that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the black community, right? And so, the level of violence that you need to be able to withstand, especially in certain chapters. Omega is probably like one of the more, like I've read so many books and so many things, and it's all jumbled in my head. But like it's like the test of manhood in these black fraternities is how much violence can I withstand?
Yeah.
And that makes me think back to slavery and slave owners and the branding, right? Like, you'll see the Q dogs, whatever, with their like, I think that's them, right? With their iron branding. And I'm like, do you not see the connection between what our ancestors suffered and what you are systemically putting through generations of black and brown people? Like, do you not see the connection? Like, I don't care how you justify it to yourself. I don't care if you think that, oh, this is going to make them a better person. This is going to like enlighten them. I don't care. I don't care. There's another way. There is no way that you need to take the master's tools, flip it on its head, put black on it, and say this is okay. It's
Mhm.
not okay. It's not okay. Like, I will never call somebody my sister or my brother that can physically put their hands to me and think that's how they're going to better me as a person. Like, that just will never happen. Like, I'm not that, I don't have that low of a self-esteem. Sorry. And sadly, to me, that's what a lot of it is, right? Because you want to be seen a certain way. You want to be accepted. You want to be, a part of the crowd. Like, I've heard of stories where people got jobs just because they were adults, or AKA hooked them up with this or that. And it's also like the access, the privilege, the power. You want that. So you allow somebody to come in and dehumanize you,
Yeah.
not even knowing your self-worth already, because you're taking in black white supremacist talking points, right? Like, to I just it's so much harm that's being done on our young black youth.
Mhm.
And the people that just justify it to me it's abhorrent. It's absolutely abhorrent. It's abhorrent. Like, there's no justification for the systemic violence that we are putting our black youth through, because we are telling them they are not good enough unless they subject themselves to harm, subject themselves to violence, subject themselves to, just, they're not good enough unless they can pass that. We have enough of that in our community.
Yeah.
We don't need extra. We're trying to get away from that. Like, how are you saying this is what's going to help you get to the position that you need to be in life, but then have them try to fight against the white people that want to do the same thing? But it's okay if your black brother and sister do it, quote unquote. No, it's not okay. And I will never stand for it. So that's just my little 2 cents.
We're dropping 10 cents for you today, okay? And here's my concern with it, okay? Because some of them will say, but we're not physical anymore. Okay, let's take the physicality out of it. Let's
Oh, they're
let's
liars. If they're liars, but go ahead.
okay, let's I'll even say, okay, you're not even being physical. You can't tell me, because I work in the space of mental wellness,
Oh,
that
yeah,
you are not abusing people psychologically and emotionally through the process
that
of
part.
even being able to be considered to be a part of it, and then through the friggin' Hell Week and all the other grueling stuff. It's mind
Yes,
tricks.
it is.
I'm
It is.
It's total mind tricks. And if you all think that when we're talking about our own collective healing, our own collective peace, our own collective rest, that it is okay to literally traumatize young youth's minds, to have
Listen,
to be able to sit with and sit through
listen.
that
Mm,
pain and suffering that people have said is okay at the hands of people who are supposed to love me,
that
that
part.
is a problem. That's a problem.
Ooh, I got chills, future. I got chills. I got
It's a
chills.
problem.
It is a problem.
And we're both speaking on, and people could say, well, you don't know. You're right, because I never signed up for it.
Amen to
You
that.
couldn't give me enough money to sign up for it.
Right.
I am not mad if you signed up for it. We are just saying, can you, for at least a moment in time, sit and think about, we are going to scream and kick and holler and protest and walk and comment and talk about this is not right, but yet we're going to choose to use the oppressor's tools to oppress ourselves. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, future. It doesn't make sense. But this is the thing. It doesn't make sense because there's this massive, I don't know if we want to call it cognitive dissonance happening. Like, I'm just like not sure what to call it, but it how do I say this? It's like saying, and I think I said this before, it's like saying, okay, there's this white woman, full story, white woman, she, you know, puts me up in a apartment. She pays for my apartment. She pays all my bills every month. I don't have to lift a finger. I don't have to do a thing. But she beats me and
Yeah.
she calls me the N word. And, I have to succumb to her whims and wills and whatever she wants to do. And she's like, she's racist. Like, there's no doubt about it. But she takes care of me. So she must be a good person. The organization must be good because it does good, right? Like, it, I mean, I just there's no, especially when you have any organization that purports and claims that it is for the Black community and advancing the Black community, it is not beyond critique of the members of that community. That's number one. So I'm gonna really need people to stop being in their feelings and kind of just like wanting to not talk about certain things because they feel like, oh, if you're not in the organization, you have no right to. Right? That
Mhm.
doesn't make sense. Let me tell you why it doesn't make sense. I wasn't alive during slavery, but honey, I can write a dissertation on it. I wasn't alive during the civil rights movement, but there's data. There's so much data. There's testimony. There's firsthand testimony. There's second. I mean, there's books I can read, there's things I can listen to, there's knowledge, there's information that you take and that you synthesize and that you come to a decision based on the critical thinking of like pulling and reading from all these different
Yeah.
places. And so you can make educated and informed analyses on things. I don't have to been in your organization to understand how you operate. I don't have to been in it to understand the mindset that the people have, right? Because I talk to people, I watch videos, I read books. There's a lot that comes into it. And so I mean, I feel like that's also one of the most ignorant pushbacks that I have ever heard. It's like, because you haven't lived something, you can't talk about it. I mean, then you can't ever talk about slavery ever again. Like, you can't. Like, you weren't there. Sorry. Like,
Won't the system be happy about that? Okay, everybody. Seriously. Ah! Okay. The
people
other
really
thing,
get me. I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? Like, I don't understand. Like, don't be talking out here talking about I'm for Black people, I'm for liberate, but you over there with a whole paddle beating people
right,
until they got cuts and bruises. People have died. people have been in hospitals. People have still to this day PTSD.
Right.
People have unresolved trauma from the things that they've had to go through, right? It's so insidious it's just so insidious. Like, you take this thing that was started by white people, and because you couldn't be a part of it, now you have your own, but it's still rooted in white supremacist ideology and culture. And it's like, just, I need y'all to take a step back and kind of look at it from, like you said, eagle eyes view. Get off. Eagle eyes view. Like, I need you to see the whole picture. Like, yeah, I feel like I don't know. I just feel like people who believe in that can never say that they are proponents of like Black liberation ever. Like, you don't even belong in the DEI space. I'm sorry. Like, that's my personal viewpoint, because it is a harmful system, and anybody that says anything otherwise just does not either have the knowledge, or they just are in this delusion of like, they don't want to admit it because of the trauma bonds that they have established, and like they don't want to deal with what they have done to people and what people have done to them. It can be pretty painful to really come to that acknowledgement, right? Because a lot of people don't understand what they sign up for. So then when they get there, it's like, oh shoot, like this is it. And you just do it because you just want to pass. But afterwards you sit back and it's like, it can really mentally take a toll on you. Right. And so I don't want our people, we already have enough coming from everybody else. Like, why we need to do it to ourselves? We don't need to do it to ourselves. We really don't.
Okay, so here's my thing. The tune that's playing in my mind, I have two thoughts from this, is Beyonce's, and I'm not like a huge fan of Beyonce, okay? But the
Me either.
song, okay, and don't come for me because I know people. What? Yes, I said it out loud, okay? I know some of her songs. I'm not gonna ever go to one of her concerts. And anyway, stop putting me in a box, right? Like, stop doing the labels and trying to say this is where you should be.
Yeah.
So when I think of what you're saying, what I think of immediately is you won't break my soul. And I think of all the black,
Mm.
I truly think about all the black souls that have been broken nightly when you
Girl,
have to go home after what you had to live through,
girl.
when you experienced what you had to experience and then you still didn't get in, right? Like, it is literally signing up to break one's soul. And I can't and I will not sit here and be okay with it. You know what we should be doing during hazing or during some of the other time? Pouring into ourselves.
Yes.
Wellness practices, trying to
Yes.
heal
I
from the
love that.
trauma. That's
I
what we
love
should be doing. Okay.
that. Right.
So,
Love
all
that.
you sororities and fraternities, if you're up for that, give me a call because we need to be pouring into our own friggin' wellness, not breaking us down so that we have more stress and more health problems and more trauma. That's not what we need.
But the weird future to that point, the weird justification to that is, we're breaking down this person to make them a new person, a better person. I need somebody to give me a mental wellness, like just some kind of wellness book that says that that's how you heal and help people grow. But like, I need someone to find that for me.
Right. Give me all the data for
that
black
being
people.
abusive, that being abusive, right, is actually conducive to, you know, higher intelligence, to all these things that you purported going to happen when you cross the burning sands. Like, I really need the stats on that. I need scientific evidence. Like, there's no way you're going to tell a woman who's being and this may be a trigger for some people, so just say that before I say this, but a woman who's in a domestic violence situation, that what her husband is doing to her is for her benefit so she
Yeah.
can be stronger. It's insanity.
No, I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid. I haven't had Kool-Aid in decades. Literally, I haven't had Kool-Aid in decades.
Well,
Okay?
me neither.
I'll get some Kool-Aid. Okay, seriously, I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid. You're not selling me that one.
You're
I'm
not
not.
selling me that crap. You're not selling me that crap. Like, I will make it with God and God alone. Like, I don't need to subject myself to things that Jesus would just find abhorrent. Like, for me, and now this gets to me, like, personally, just like to me, like, it's not a secret that I'm a Christian, and everyone that follows me probably knows this. And so it's like, if my God wouldn't do that to me, why would I let you do that to me?
Yeah.
Are you stupid? Like, I'm just, if that's not how he pours into me and uplifts me and makes me strong, why do you think I'm going to take the devil's devices
Yeah.
and then try to twist that and make it seem like that's how I'm going to get my victory? Like, that's a whole nother topic. But child, people just need to wake up, wake up, wake up, and start just like healing from the notion that they are not good enough unless they succumb to these things. That's what I want people to do. You are good enough. You are valid enough. You don't have to subject yourself to that. And
Yep.
anybody that tells you otherwise, I mean, I don't know.
I'd rather go it alone. Okay. I will gladly sign up for the path of alone
That
than be
part.
with a herd, than be
That
with a
part.
herd that's gonna hurt me. You could quote me on that. I would
Right.
rather go it alone than
Right.
be with a herd that's gonna hurt me. I said
Mm,
it.
I love that. I love that. I so love that. Oh, and one last point. Okay, to your, oh my gosh, this is also what gets me. Say if you decide to like leave the organization or like denounce the organization or whatever, those your brothers and sisters
Are not
become
your
your
brother and
enemies
sister.
real quick.
Yep.
Real quick. Like, where did the love go? Like, I don't it just out the door. Like, and that's your definition of a ride or die? I'm so confused. Like, through hell high water, like, I don't understand. Like, it's so twisted and so convoluted, and like, I listen, people do what they do. They do it for a reason. I'm not painting a broad stroke on like every single person and every single like. I am painting a broad stroke on every single BGLO. I am, because inherently just built in it, there's white supremacist culture. But in terms of every single person, I'm not painting a broad stroke. That should be obvious, because when I say white people, it's not every single white person. Maybe 98%, but not every single white person, right? So like, I get that, to our point earlier about nuance and like different experiences and how people think. But when you talk about, again, healing from the traumas and harms, right? Like, how do we understand and address the fact that there are systems set up in place by us that claim to be for us, but are actually harming us and are not doing us any better than like these other systems that are mentally, emotionally, and physically just decrippling us, and
We don't even know
recognize
it.
it or see it, right? And so that's the point, is to kind of just like open people's eyes to it, and and understand that there are better ways. There are better ways to build someone up. There are better ways to encourage people, or to get them to just kind of understand and build bonds, and like all the things that you want to have in like a community. Like, there's violence is not violence, humiliation, degradation, like all of these nasty, insidious things that we don't want white people to do to us, we
Yeah.
should not be doing to each other. And I don't care what it's in the name of, or for what cause or what sake. I don't care.
That's it. I know some people were like past the plate. I know we are well over. Dan, I appreciate you because these segments are usually 30 minutes. And we have to stop co-signing our own abuse. We have to stop co-signing it.
Yes. Yes.
So that's what we wanted to say today. You take it for what it is, and we will still stand in our truths and understand that some people are not going to be happy if I lost a couple followers. That's okay. I am okay with that because I will continue to stand in my purpose and live and die on this hill of truths and of collective humanity's healing. And if we can't be truthful and dig up the roots, we collectively as humanity will never bear that fruit that we all should be bearing. And some of us are harming each other, and that's the exact opposite of what we should be doing.
Yeah. And I want to make one last point. This really gonna ruffle some feathers, but see, most of these people in these Black Greek letter organizations, they get to these positions like, and I started creating a spreadsheet because I'm working on my book and I'm going deep in my book, like deep, deep. So a lot of them are from, associated with fraternities and sororities, but like chief diversity officers. Like I hadn't come across one yet when I was going through several organizations that wasn't connected to one. And so there it goes again to this whole idea of elitism and being the acceptable Black in the white spaces kind of thing, right? Because they're quote unquote better. But you're not. But so it's so interesting because those are the ones that will what's that word? It's in my head, but it's a dirty word. It's like
Say it.
Dan would have us cursing on here all the time.
it's like they pussyfoot around things. Like I don't know another way to say it, but it's like they'll be the ones if a white CEO says, we really can't do this on DEI because, our whatever is not going to like it, or I really don't think, like they'll be the ones that will happily be the face of diversity in the organization, the chief diversity officer, or like whatever position they are, like they will play their position. Kamala is playing her position. Like people are playing their positions for money, and it's really not about collective Black elevation. It's about their own elevation and how close they can get to a piece of the pie. And so it's like when we talk about why things haven't been moving in the DEI industry, well, you need to look at who's been in charge. It's these quote unquote elitists, in my opinion, who think that proximity, it's a twisted way of thinking. So it's like proximity and like contortion of myself and my body, and to kind of be acceptable will allow me to do the things that will help my community. But it's such a backwards ass way of thinking, like excuse my French, like it's so kind of self-loathing in a sense that you can see the desire to oh my gosh, it's like we'll accept anything because we made it here. Like, mama, we made it. So we'll accept anything, almost kind of where, you couldn't, like, I don't know. It couldn't be me because I couldn't be walking around like doing DI for 5 years on an organization. And then, like, the Black percentage rate representation only moved 1%, and I'm still there after 5 years. Like, are you serious? What are you there for? You're there for a paycheck, babe. You're there for a paycheck. You are not there for the people. Like, that it's just so wild. Like, let me shut up. Girl, you have yourself a good birthday.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And I know we have to go, but remember last night we were talking about, we want to talk about police and some of these systems that hurt people. Some people, and we said, are walking around with their badge of Blackness thinking they too are not being harmful. I said it, okay?
You did, and I
You
love that.
you don't get to weaponize this and then go laying a trail of bodies and blood
Yes.
all over the place because you didn't care about the people. You cared about
Right.
yourself. That's
Yep.
problematic.
That part. That part.
I will lay my body down for the people. And that's what I will continue to do and have done. And people will co-sign and attest to what I know I've done behind the scenes for the people, because the people are being treated humanely in all of these spaces.
Yeah.
What are you willing to sacrifice? I keep saying it to people, and Dan knows that's the first question I asked him. You are going to lose a ton, and at the same time,
Mm.
there is a ton more that we will gain.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so
This is
let me go
great.
let me go to my piece. Let me go to my peace and center. Okay, so here's we're leaving, you know? And that was a lot. This was
That was a lot.
some people might process this for the whole year. You might be literally sitting this in the whole year, and we get it. So if we leave the people today, what are the final words you want people to take away, to hold and leave an imprint on their hearts and minds? What are your few sentences, a word? What is it?
Oh my gosh. I think what I want people to be left with is that we are no better than the next person to us, right? That is really like the main takeaway here when we talk about healing from the hurt within. Some of us are so bruised, so just unsure of ourselves that we need to cling to an identity, cling to letters, cling to a false sense of brotherhood or sisterhood in order to make it seem like we are somebody, we are important. But that is not true. You are good enough without,
Yeah.
right? You are good enough without. And for the people, that walk around with this air of superiority, what I will have to say is I think that COVID became the great equalizer and let people know that, listen, we're all in the same playing field for the most
Mhm.
part. God can snap his finger and do something that you didn't expect. You were out here planning vacation to Cabo next year, think you was about to live it up with your friends, and the world shut down. And so I think people need to be humbled and need to understand, this is for another part of the audience, but there's some people that need to be humbled and understand that, you know, we are all created in God's image. Like there's no hierarchy here, right? And to the other side of that, like, don't buy into the lies that there is. Don't buy into the lies that I need to, make this amount of money. I need to be a part of this group. I need to wear my hair a certain way. I need to do this. I need to conform. No, you are who God created you to be, and you are perfect without anything but you, right? So that's what I would leave people with.
Yeah. I think the other thing that makes me think of is two words. You are love. You,
Yeah.
we literally embody love at any given moment of time. And if you have carried darkness around for so long, I don't know if your heart and your mind could see the love that you are. In addition to it, also makes me think of there's a lot of people
Mm,
chasing, like you said, the paycheck, the role, the
yep.
social clout, the
Yep.
followers, the whatever, to be whole,
Mm,
forgetting you are enough as is right here today,
yeah.
today in this moment. And you will let your mind play tricks on you. If you don't believe that, even when we're telling you that, I can't force you to believe it unless you believe it. You
Mm,
have to believe these words that we're uttering. And if you don't believe it, then that's a journey that you need to go on of your own healing.
yeah. I agree.
Dan, any final words from you?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's brain fog from not feeling well or the conversation,
Oh,
probably, or the fact my daughter won't leave my side.
oh,
But yeah, um, listen, everyone. If you enjoy this, I will be asking Aisha if I could chop up the clips and post them into micro content because I
Yeah.
know there's a lot of stuff here that people are going to want to listen to. Aisha, I know you gave me the Instagram, but my question for you, because I know a lot of people are probably wondering, is
Mm.
are you taking clients if anybody wants to work with you? How can people uh, gain accessibility to Aisha Joseph if they're looking to?
That's a great question. So I will base on the nature of the request because I'm just also trying to be mindful of my own wellness and, like mental and emotional well-being. So if you shoot me a DM at like my Instagram or send me a LinkedIn message, I'm happy to kind of just like have that initial conversation and see what I may or may, what I may be able to help you with. So thanks, Dan, for the question.
You are welcome. If you can stay on for a minute after outro, I want to pay you a compliment, but it's not going to be a public compliment. Um, so with that, we are back next week. I'll be feeling better, hopefully, knock on wood. So back over to you, future, before the exit.
Okay. So I think the only thing that I would remind people of is there is a free upcoming all day webinar with great speakers next week in the state of Wisconsin. Woo woo for us to put together. All right, seriously, like there are some great things. I will talk about our state because we need to make lots of improvements. However, there are some great things that we're doing here too. So we could drop the link to the chat in that. And I don't know if you have that on the outro where people could see, but if you're about equity, equity and education, yeah, it's going to be a day that you probably want to sign up for. And the knowledge that people are going to be dropping, it's all day, would be, I don't even want to know, tens of thousands of dollars, literally. So you could get, save your bank account and expand your mind next Thursday all day. Dan, any other updates from you of speaking and events that you're at?
My head's so out of it, I don't even remember, if I'm being completely frank. But if you want to hire me to speak at your engagement, feel free to reach out. But more than that, this isn't about me today. You've heard Aisha drop some incredibly valuable knowledge. If you're interested in hiring her, I don't even know if she does this, but I mean, whatever. As a professional speaker, if you want to pay her the money, go to
I do speak, yeah.
please reach out. We don't push working for free, so you better have some nice 5-figure offers
There we
rolling
go.
to do that. So get in touch with her there. But when I'm feeling better, I'll figure out what's going on. But yeah, if you want to hire me for an engagement, reach out, and I'm happy to do so. In the meantime, outro time?
Outro time.
Outro time. Okay.